All right, guys, the next one, somebody was kind of getting back into it, and they were wondering how people set their DJ rates today. And in different shows and things, we've talked about this. And one of I did a series on this a few years back that I still think is somewhat apropos, where kind of went through and actually figured out what the costs were of producing and what it was all about, and then coming up with a minimum rate, and then figuring out how much a person wants to make above that, and then putting it all together. But most people don't spend that amount of time because, well, that's a lot of monkeying around and diddling around. So how did you come up with where your DJ rates are today?
Guess I'm first again.
Yeah, go.
It was in some aspects it was a shot in the dark. It really was. And that was just my being ignorant to the process. Like what John was suggesting, I highly recommend for anybody anywhere. Just because from the standpoint of, okay, if this is the amount of money that is going out, then this is how much I need to bring in, plus whatever I need to do for myself. So I really think that needs to be key as you try and figure out, because then anything above there becomes the extra, becomes the basis for you going, you know what, I'm better, and so I deserve more than that. Not I'm better, so I'm just going to charge more. Like you have kind of a basic fee structure to yourself and how you're kind of going about it. I think that really becomes key. But I'll be honest, for myself, it was kind of like I was doing a price that was probably breaking even in all reality. And then I realized DJs could charge more, so I started charging more. And then as we talked last week, I started taking some classes, which gave me the confidence to then charge more. And so now it's not, I'm charging this to cover my expenses and pay myself. I know my expenses are covered. Now any price increase or any structure that I have is because I feel that I'm worth that extra from where I was at before.
Cubby, how did you come up with your rates?
I had to dissect all my expenses, and that includes everything from advertising to business insurance to taxes to workman's comp, and then per employee, and then what they wanted to make, what they agreed to work for me, and then what I want to make on top of that for the percentage. But when you're dissecting your business, you got to make sure you take everything in consideration: your music costs, and what you pay monthly for it, and so on. Who use promo only, my software through DJ Event Planner, all those different expenses, and then what I have to pay my employees, and then I can make $20 per event, so I feel pretty good.
Nice. I bet you don't have to go buy holy pants then at $20. You can get the nice ones.
We're up to Happy Meals.
You get the nice ones with the patches on the knees. Oh,
yeah. We're into Happy Meals now.
Oh man, that's big.
Price those lately? I don't even want to say that.
Maybe, yeah, it's true.
That is true. Yeah, I think you're back to the AM PM hot dogs there, but So this is, you've been doing this for a long time, and then when we very first started, the way we set our prices was basically on what every other DJ was kind of figuring out what other DJs were charging, and $50 less than that. That was the way of doing it. And then the idea behind that was, okay, now that we've got this $200, how are we going to be able to, what do we do with it to put money into, and maybe pay ourselves a little bit or pay the business off, whatever. That's the methodology that was used for much of the early 90s. And as we continued on and raised prices throughout the mid 90s, really never sat down and put numbers together. It was generally kind of working backwards and saying, okay, so we now are booking 10 shows on a regular basis, and it looks like we're going to be making this amount of money. Hey, we can actually put this much money into advertising. We've got some money for this. We've got some money for that. So it was kind of putting the cart in front of the horse in many ways, but that's what really was part of that process. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, hearing about the whole getting what you're worth, and that DJs could charge more than $600 for wedding services, because it was a service that was sought after and it was needed, and even then, we didn't really have a reason for it. It was a little bit later, as I've spent more time learning about the business side of things, that became maybe we should figure out these other aspects of it. What does it cost to do? Like as Cubby was saying, what are my expenses? when it became so do you make any money DJing? And it's like, maybe. That's kind of how it was, and for a period of time. And one of probably the most eye-opening times of talking about money when it came to DJs and how much they end up putting in their pocket is a mutual friend of ours was at a DJ event, and he basically went through and took all of his expenses and such of his DJ, plus his, all of his income, all of his expenses, his time and such. He knew all the hours that were involved with the year of DJing. And by the time when he worked it all out, he ended up making like $1.75 or $2 an hour for his time as a DJ for the whole year. So for every hour that he put into his business, he made about $2. And of course, that was a real big eye-opening thing. And for all of us in the room, because none of us really had gotten that in depth with it. That was one of the first times that I really saw somebody go into the literally nickels and dimes of it to figure it out. But it was, again, an eye-opening situation that, hey, I don't want to be making less than, and I've even made reference to this, I can make more, selling Big Macs at McDonald's. But we're back to McDonald's again. But anyway, you can make more there than as a mobile DJ. And for a lot of us out there, that's still the case even today, is that by the time you do your expenses for your business and do this and that, you probably could be making more, putting more money in your pocket from McDonald's. You may not like what you're doing as much. You may not, whatever. But the reality is, until you actually figure out what your expenses are and figure out how much you want to make, you'll never be making that big $20 bill until you actually get the point to doing that.
One of the quickest ways I kind of realized whether I was, making money or the business was living off of me was when I got my own business account, right? Mm-hmm. Like you might be a sole proprietor. It might only be you, and you may not be married. You may be completely single and everything. I would still recommend that you have a bank account that is purely the business, and everything that comes in from your business, every income piece goes in there, every outcome and every expense comes out of it. And then you pay, you figure out a way to pay yourself. And that's money that you move over to your personal side and you put that in. And at the end of the year, if that business account is not higher than what it was when you started, your business is not making money. You might still have that livable income, but you want both of those to be able to grow. Right? You want both of them to be able to kind of flourish. And so if they're not, then I would, and that's the easiest way. That's when I kind of realized, one, that my business was in a healthy position because my bank account for my business was growing, and yet I was still paying myself off of every event. So that's one of the, and it can also kind of give you an idea. Can I, now that it's growing, can I pay myself a little bit more? Mm-hmm. Right? Like I was thinking I was taking 50% off the event. Well, maybe now I can take 75% off the event because of how much that was growing in a year. And it's a lot faster to see without having to crunch a ton of numbers and get, buried in all the data.
Dan, you read the book Profit First, didn't you?
I have not, but I've listened to quite a bit about it. And mm-hmm. Jason Spencer, when he was really into kind of promoting it and his angle on it, took a lot of what he was sharing out from that to kind of have that same idea. Yeah,
it's for those of you watching, Profit First would be a great resource also for getting into much of what Dan was talking about when it came to the paying and in business expenses and things. And he kind of turns things around a little bit from what we traditionally are taught or we hear from the Dave Ramsey world. It's a little bit different process and thought process, but it could be a hugely valuable book for a lot of folks. And I put the link down in the chat so you guys can jump out there and grab that. So